Welcome back to yet another episode of the Insightfully Ignorant podcast. I am your host, Action Jack, and hopefully the audio is a little bit better today. I've taken a little bit more of safety precautions to make sure everything is good and make sure that everything is on point for your listening view. If you're hearing this via audio, I thank you for coming to Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, what have you. And if you're watching this on video, as you see, I'm still in the whole angle phase to where I have this going in the front view with my webcam, and I have a side view here with my iPhone. And like I said, I'm going to continue to give a little bit more, but as of right now, this is what I'm working with here in my apartment before I move, and hopefully I can get a nice little setup in my new spot, right? So let's get into this. As you can see, the title of today is accountability. What do I mean by accountability? I'm not going to center this towards one gender. I'm not going to center this towards one race. I'm going to center this towards everyone. And we're going to take this over a multitude of different, I guess you could say, subject matters as far as what I feel that we show a very, very, very bad view of accountability for, or, we just don't really hold up as far as what we try to do in this world, right? So let's get into it. Let's start with the main and focal point that we tend to have a lack of accountability on, and that is being parents, right? A lot of us like to get in situations with people. We like to lay down and have unprotected sex. We like to just have fun. We like to trust in the other person without even having a real conversation with them. And then spawns a baby, but yet there's so much surprise. There's so much, oh, well, I didn't know this was going to happen when, we're all pretty familiar with the anatomy. We know what happens. We know how to reproduce, if you will. But no one tends to take the accountability of, two parties not necessarily doing what it was that they need to do to avoid a situation that they were not ready for. And then we go into the lack of accountability when it comes down to the father side of not necessarily being there for the child, even though he played a part in the situation. And then we have the lack of accountability on the woman's side as well when it comes down to those that want to be, involved, allowing them to be involved or allowing them to have a say so, as into if they actually give birth to said child, or if they adopt said child, or if they do anything else with said child. Those of you that are familiar with the system, we understand that the moment that there is a bean in the oven, the man's opinions go out the window. Like, it's gone. He can't make any decisions when it comes down to that child. So he's pretty much null and void. Yes, the woman has to give birth and it's her body, her choice, what have you. But that man also helped, conceive that child. And I feel like that's something in the system that needs to change because, it takes two to tango. So why am I being left out of the situations of deciding what to do with our child? Not to mention when it comes down to the level of child support. When we look at something like child support, to where, yes, I understand why it's in place, but it's not being used properly and it's not being utilized in a great manner. And what I mean by that is, how do we have fathers that want to be in their children's lives but don't want to be involved with the mother, still having to pay child support when there has been no evidence showcasing that father hasn't been assisting? That's something that I feel like needs to change. You need to be able to give definitive proof that you have not been assisted, that you are not being helped by said father, that we're going to seek out anyway to ask for him to pay for child support. And as far as like how much they take for child support, that's another conversation. But we have to get into the level of accountability of understanding that you may not care for that person anymore, or never truly care for that person, but understand that you brought a child in this world that is going to be dependent on both of you, that's going to need both of you. I don't care how many single mothers are out here in this world. You're never going to be able to raise a man because it's something that you don't know how to do. You've never experienced it because you are a woman. The same way when it comes down to men, I can't raise a daughter to be a woman. I can only raise her in my image, and that's still not enough. So when we come down to accountability, a lot of it is taken away. And I think too many of us ride on the system in itself to say, hey, look, I don't have to take accountability. And this is what I see with a lot of my sisters, that there's opportunities for you to escape. accountability. There's opportunities for you to escape responsibility when it comes down to the child system, the system of child support, or that system in itself as raising kids. You know what I'm saying? Or even in divorce court. A lot of times that is in favor of the mother in a majority sense. Of course, you can find an exception in every rule, but there's a level of, majority that we have to take into account, right? And then as far as the men, taking the accountability of understanding, even if it's something that she is not okay with you walking away with, but she understands who you are, you have to take accountability that you may have ruined a child's life. You may have to take that accountability that you may not be able to come back into that child's life and then act like nothing happened. You have to take on the accountability that you may have to have that conversation with that child, that as into why you left, as into why you were not around. And some have different reasons as into why they don't stay around. But if it's just to continue to run the streets, understand that, to me, that's a lack of accountability. And that's one of many reasons as into why we have so many young men and so many young women out here with mental issues. You know what I mean? So we have to be ready to step up in the sense that pick who you choose and make sure you choose the right one in the event that something does happen, and be safe, be protected. I don't care if she says she's on birth control. You have to protect your neck, because after everything is said and done, your opinions are out the window. Nothing that makes sense or logical in this world helps you at all. But let's go into other accountabilities. We think about accountabilities of lack of financial education. It's something that is readily accessible. Sometimes it's kind of disgusting of how people try to gain capital from you with their level of education. But I can understand it. This is a dog eat dog world. It's all about money. It's all about, as far as capital in itself. So they're going to try to make money, make a dollar. It is what it is. But if you have friends and family that have that knowledge, then take it upon yourself to see if it's something that you can explore, something that you can do, something that you can pick up and spread to your kids or spread to other friends and family. You know what I mean? I've had that opportunity to where, a friend of mine from high school was able to bring some very important information to me about stocks and different things of that nature. Now it's up to me if I want to utilize it or if I want to actually pursue it. But, it was something that he was willing to give, and he was able to give it to me for free, but he also charges others. So it's something that you have to understand that is something you need to have on your plate. But saying that this is not available, or this is wrong, or this hasn't been done this way, or my family didn't teach me, or, I didn't have the right assets growing up. We're all adults at this point in time. And we got to start taking accountability for what it is that we don't know right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm 33 years old. I can no longer blame my mother and my father for the things that I did, that I wasn't taught. I have to then want to learn it and then go and find my way of actually learning it. And the reason why I even brought the financial aspect up is because it ties into another situation where I feel like accountability has to come into play, as far as this whole Dr. Dre and his daughter situation, right? A daughter of 38 years old, 3 or 4 children, and she's homeless. And I think we have this inherent issue of pocket watching people. Like, oh, well, he a billionaire. His daughter should never. Oh, he's a millionaire. This child should never. My child would never, da-da-da-da. My child would never do this. And that's my problem with most people, because most people tend to talk about shit they don't know nothing about. Because one, we didn't have all the information, because apparently she had been bad mouthing him in the press. So therefore, that's an image for him. His money is his image. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he has a negative image on him, then that's endorsements, that's everything out the window. So she can screw up the very money she's asking for. I need people to understand that. 2, we have a situation to where this is a 38-year-old woman with kids. So she is of adult age, making adult decisions to raise children. So at what point does that fall on Dr. Dre? And for those of you that says, regardless of whatever, the grandbabies and this, that, and the third, y'all don't know what type of relationship they have. Y'all don't know anything of the sort. But what I'm trying to get to is, how was it that Dr. Dre was the first one to be blamed and no one asked this young lady to take accountability for what it is that she had done? You're 38 years old with kids and you have nowhere to stay. What have you been doing for the time frame that they've been alive. Yes, it's cool that her pops has money, but that doesn't make it her money. Yes, you don't want to see your kids out on the street, but you have to take into account that at some point you got to kick them out the nest and let them fly. And if I'm in a position to help my kids get back on their feet and do what they got to do, then that's cool. But there are limitations and there's respect and there's, personal that come along with that. If my kids are bad mouthing me in the press that can potentially mess up the money that they're looking for, then yes, we're going to have an issue. We're going to have a problem. Grandkids are not. They are not in this. This is between you and I. And then as your father, I'm asking you, what are you doing with your life to where you don't have a single red cent to your name? To where I've been giving you money up until just last year and you don't have a pot to piss in? At some point, those of you that don't have children that were talking about, oh, this is what I would do, understand this. There's a difference between, helping and enabling. Those are two totally different things. This is where a lot of you that I see around a lot on social media that would say that you would not assist a friend that has been coming to you and coming to you and coming to you and taking from you, but you would do that. You wouldn't check your child like that. Understand that once when that child leaves you from doing that, they're going to go to somebody else and do the same thing and be a burden to someone else. That's where you have to cut off from time to time. I love you to the moon and back. But understand, if you're not taking advantage of the situation that I've put out here for you with the money I've been giving or the assistance I've been giving, then now it's become an enabling situation to where now you understand or you feel like you don't have to do for self. So now you're taking advantage of me. Child or not, that's a problem. Because now you're not necessarily doing what you need to do, and you damn sure not doing what you need to do for them kids, and therefore you're setting a negative image for those children. How can I, as their grandfather, continue to fund you, and then you go and you tell them they're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z for themselves? You're not even doing for self. Set example. So now they're going to come to me as grandpa to continue looking for money from me just because I got it? I earned this. Y'all didn't earn shit. Yes, you're a part of my lineage, but if I've given you the education or if I've done what I need to do for you in a sense of raising you or what have you, and even if she was with the mother has to be in that whole equation as well. No one's asking where the mom is. Why the mom not helping her? You know what I'm saying? It's always to the person with money or to the father. And I understand that we have in this world, provider. Not everybody a provider, dude. Not everybody. And even though he has the means of being a provider, he's also a very intelligent man. He wouldn't be where he is if he wasn't intelligent. So if he's been doing all of this for his daughter, that's mistake number one all the way up to the age of 38. That's just like breastfeeding your child all the way up to 12. Like, nigga, why? Like, at what point do we cut this off? You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point do you really sit down and just, okay, you need to fly on your own. If you need some insight, some advice, then we can go there. But as far as me continue to enable you and give to you, and you not do nothing with it, whether it be from a business standpoint, a job standpoint, a something standpoint, investing, something. Come on now. You gotta be able to utilize your assets the way that you can. And she has one of the biggest assets as far as a rich father like Dr. Dre. And you don't utilize that? Come on. That, to me, that's all on her. That has nothing to do with him. And I feel for those grandbabies. But at the same time, that's her responsibility, not his. If he want to get them clothes and all that, that's cool. But she still got to find a roof to put over their head. And that's just what it is. So let's get into another accountability situation, right? As a man and making decisions down the road in my life, I've been through a lot. You know what I'm saying? Even at the age of 33, I've been through a lot. And a lot I do keep to myself. A lot some of my family know, some of my friends do know. But I keep to myself. And that's where I take accountability of really starting to evaluate what it is that I put out to the masses. Evaluate who it is that I speak to. And taking accountability of speaking to the wrong people or putting the wrong people in my circle just for the sake of putting people in my circle, right? Many of us have been in a situation to where we've been lonely and we've called on the wrong people. We've called on people that were easily accessible. And it's because they've been waiting for you to put them in your presence. Even though they were non-deserving, they've been waiting by the sidelines of like, I just know in due time that he's going to call me up and he's going to give me the attention that I need or that I want, because he's going to eventually become lonely. And I've put myself in a situation in turn would cause me to lose even more people because of the nasty individuals that I put around me, right? So now I find myself in a situation to where, I'm to myself, I'm educating myself, and I'm in a very good spot to where while I see the masses enjoying themselves and going on vacations and doing trips, that's not where I need to be right now, because I see a bigger plan. I see a bigger vision for myself. So while I'm sitting here educating myself, reading and working on music and everything else, I have to put all that stuff to the side and understand where I am. And where the accountability part comes in, I should have done this first opposed to latter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I did the family thing, I did the relationship things first and worked on myself last. So now I'm sitting here and I'm paying for it. So I know what it feels like to be married. I know what it feels like to have kids. I know what it feels like to have people around you and, say that they love you and do all these other great things, or come home to a cooked meal and all that other good things. But I didn't have me situated. And so therefore I feel like things didn't work out the way that they should have. So now I'm on the back end looking for myself and trying to get myself straight so I can be prepared and do it better for the final and last time, and do it the right time with the right person and the right people around me. But the problem is I'm going through hell right now because of it, because it is a lonely road. It's a lonely trip, and my mindset has changed. So even if I do find a peer of mine that's like, oh, let's go do X, Y, and Z, if we're not talking about anything conducive, then it's really just a waste of time. My conversation pieces are different, whether there is, current events, or if it's talking about the future or anything like that. It's not just business. It's life. It's about where we should go next as a people. It's about where your mindset should be, your spiritual connection, how you carry yourself, who you should have moving around you, what you should be educating yourself on. You know what I'm saying? From growing vegetation, or possibly having, the right books and education and how you raise your kids, and possibly having to take your kids out of school because the curriculum is trash, or, moving your kids out of a certain situation because their mix of race ain't right for the people that they go to school with. You know what I'm saying? Or even when we get into this whole pandemic situation, understanding that you really may have to just segregate yourself altogether because of the now new segregation, as in vaccinated personnel versus non-vaccine personnel. And that's where I hold accountability for myself in saying, like, look, this is no fault of anyone else's. No matter how much I feel like I did fantastic in either relationship, I still wasn't ready as a person, as a man, because things were red flags from jump, and I wasn't disciplined enough to rectify the situation or to get up out of there in enough time before I got invested, right? So I have to take accountability for the pain and the suffering that I'm going through right now. But with that pain and the suffering isn't me just sitting around moping and whining to myself about what's going on. It's about educating myself and sitting back and looking at all my mistakes and looking at all the moves that I failed to make, all the incorrect steps that I'm now sitting down and saying, look, this is where I went wrong. And that's where, to me, it can't get no better, but it's just kind of hard, because I had to possibly shed every single body away, to where locally where I am now, there ain't a single soul around me. The closest body to me is 2.5 hours that I'm willing to, sit down and have conversations with, that I call family, that I call friend, right? To where it was a matter of like 2 minutes down the street not too long ago. But some people gotta go. Certain people gotta go, and that's just what it is. And they may, you sit back and you look, and we all victim to this. Sit back and look at how people that shouldn't be moving the way they moving, and it's enticing. And you're like, yeah, like how did you get to this already? Like, how are you already doing trips and shit like that? And you was just in a different mindset not even 2 weeks ago, right? But then I have to stop once again. Another mistake I'm making. Because for me, the work needs to be put in first before I even remotely talk about celebrating. Like, we're in the time right now, not a single soul should be celebrating. Celebrating for what? We ain't won nothing. We ain't done nothing. Ain't nothing. Nothing's been accomplished. Your own personal life may have some form of accomplishment. Like, yeah, I could celebrate for a little bit for my album. I could celebrate a little bit for my channel and things like that. But then it's time to get back to work. Like, I'm not in that mindset of let me go to another state, another country right now, unless I'm going to go educate myself about it. But as far as like having a fun time, to me, we're in war right now, especially as black people. Come on. Like, you all see where we at right now with everything. There's no way in hell I'm going to another country knowing what's happening to me and mom back here. I can't. It don't feel right. It's something in my heart of hearts. Even thinking about vacation, it rubs me the wrong way. Looking at these extravagant locations of eating breakfast on the beach, and we not in no state to be eating no breakfast on the beach, my G. Especially when I can walk out this door today and be shot over nothing. And not even by my own kind. That's where my head is at right now. Like, that's where my mental space is. So yeah, it sucks. You see all my folks down in Miami and Georgia and all this other stuff, and it sucks because you want to be down there chilling. But because I chose not to be ignorant, is lonely and it's painful. But I got to be strong enough to do it, because if not, then God wouldn't have put me on this journey, and the same people would have still been around me to this day. You know what I'm saying? So I know I made mention of the whole, segregation aspect of vaccinations and non-vaccinated. And to me, I just told my mom, I just got off the phone with my mom, that for years now, I felt like something's coming. So much so that it makes my eyes water when I think about it. Cause I spiritually, I know something's around the corner. But what hurts the most is like watching that as like how easily we can be divided, right? Like in the beginning, we were like, okay, we were scared, people were dying, people were dropping left and right from something that we didn't know nothing of. And that's the worst enemy of any, human being, is fear. The lack of knowing. That's why you see so many people go out their way to try to educate as much as possible to an extent, or try to get to that one answer because they're afraid, right? So when we look at this entire situation, and regardless of if you want to, if you don't want to, where it comes from, just look at how in a matter of 2 years, something that we're not fully educated on, they're not fully educated on, we can't run from, but yet we have people that are wearing this armor of invincibility. And it's scary because in the midst of fear, we look for solutions. And when we feel like we found the solution, we get comfortable again. And to me, that's kind of scary right now, because the vaccination is not the answer. Just as many people that die and get sick and pass the disease around are vaccinated. Like, it doesn't exonerate you from anything. And it's been shown it doesn't. It's something you just can't run from at this point in time. There are going to be people that die. That goes with anything, any illness, anything that's natural, anything that's not natural. You're going to die. But the thing that bugs me the most is when it came down to this, and the easy answer was get a shot. Everybody was like, yes, I'm going to do it, without any second guesses or any type of fumbles that they did with the information. So that's science. That's how it happens. Like, it's forever growing. So let's go get it and just let it work itself out. Because then that will give me my life back, and that'll give me some reassurance that I'm safe. Your life not coming back. Not the way it was. It's not coming back. And in my mind and my heart, it's only going to change for the worse. You're not getting any form of normality back. To me, this is just me. With this vaccination, we have given up, well, not even say this vaccination, but this pandemic in general. We've given up so much freedom out of fear. I'm all about being safe. I'm all about taking care of yourself. But how many nasty individuals did you know before this pandemic? How many people did you know that passed away from natural causes or illnesses before this pandemic? How many cancer patients did you know? How many HIV patients did you know? How many patients did you know with anything? Mental issues or any type of heart disease, cancer. Did it make you move different? Did it make you change? Did it make you eat healthier? Work out? Like, I'm not even talking about going to the gym heavy, like just walking, rethinking life. Like, did it make you drink water more? Like the amount that you're supposed to do on a daily basis? Did it make you do anything different? And as you ask yourself that question, and if the answer is no, then what the hell made you move different with this? Because everything I listed off, people died at an alarming rate. There were some form of fixes. If you look at cancer, they talk about chemo. And, when you talk about any type of HIV, they have the different shots and the treatments and things you have to do. And it's all there. So is it the matter of it spreading and being contagious that makes you move? I can understand that. But the one thing that I read, and this is coming from the CDC, so this isn't just some he say, she say. They say that, the shot boosts your immune system for this, right? Even if you've had it, I guess you get more of a bigger boost because you've contracted it before, and the shot helps you even more. But I thought that was something that we could naturally do. I thought there was a way I could boost my own immune system. And even for diseases and things of that nature, when I've caught something, isn't my body supposed to remember and build itself up to be a defense force? At least that's what I thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just talking from things that I think I know and not, reading or educating myself in the form of anatomy and, the body itself. So to me, it kind of comes down to what I'm saying in the form of accountability of we have to take some form of accountability for this entire situation, right? And it spawns back well before this pandemic. You take a look at your life and you take a look at every situation in itself and you take a look at the past, whether it's your ancestors or anything that you can look in the history books, and you ask yourself, how did we get into a situation to where we're so dependent? How have we become so dependent in the food source? How have we become so dependent in life decisions? How have we become so dependent in how we move? Everything that I talked about before this, whether we talk about becoming dependent on the system to extract money from men that want to be involved in their children's lives. How do we become dependent on our family to not help us, but enable us when we've already made decisions? How do we become so dependent on allowing this world to exempt us from responsibility? And how have we become so dependent on a government that has shown us time and time again that they don't give a shit about us? It's all about that capital. To me, it's the lack of accountability that we hold right now. And I get it. Like I said, fear and not knowing who to point the finger at. But sometimes it doesn't have to be the entire world that you try to change. Sometimes it's just your own little small world that you change. And I wonder if people care. As long as it's not affecting you directly, affecting your family, do you care? Because I hear all the time, wear a mask. Cool, yeah. But like you've seen before, if I wear a mask and somebody sprays perfume, I can still smell it. So if it's something that spreads throughout the air, and we talk about droplets and things of that nature, it's still coming to you. That mask ain't doing shit. 6 feet distance. How many times have you rolled past a car where somebody's been smoking and you still smelt that cigarette smoke? You were in a vehicle, a moving vehicle, my G. How many times have we been in a situation to where in your own life, regardless of this, that you wanted that easy fix, that one solution, that jab, if you will, that one shot to kill all your problems? We look at that in the form of alcoholism, drugs. We want the pain to go away. We want the problem to disappear. But in reality, sometimes it's a multiple solution thing to fix a problem. And right now, this quick fix for something that's so much bigger, and I don't even mean just COVID, I mean your livelihood, your freedom, your decisions, how you move, how you function. Just think about this. We had a community that was asking for rights well before other communities popped up. But how did those latter communities get some type of peace before we did? How do these communities get treated better than we do? How do you have a world that claims to be equal and fair, but they show it every single day that they're not, and you're okay with that? And most of you are going to say, well, I'm not okay with it, but there's nothing I can do. You're full of shit. There's something you can do. It just may not be for everybody, but there's something you can do. And that's for you to decide. That's not for me to give you an answer. I figured out what I'm going to do for me and mine. And like I expressed earlier, it's a very lonely road. Because when you figure it out, you realize that nobody else, for the most part, is on your same page. So therefore, the conversations about what's on TV, what music you did with this, what, movie you watched, or what concert, or what vacation, or this, that shit's out the window. Because you're now talking about things that psychologically is going to bother other people, but at the same time is going to have your children in that same scenario. And if you don't find other families that think the same way you do or feel the same way you do, your kid's going to be lonely too. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is this, people. Take accountability for what you're doing. Take accountability for the things that happen. Take accountability for your life. And stop giving the responsibility to someone else. Whether it be the system, whether it be to some other person. Stop blaming other people for shit you've done. Take accountability for the things that you've given some type of influence to. Women, if you know that man's trying to be in that child's life, let him be in that child's life. Don't get systems involved if it ain't necessary. Hence, I said if it's not necessary. Men, even if you can't stand her, do what you got to do to be in that child's life. People that don't have kids, but like to pocket watch those that have kids, shut the hell up. If you have kids, stop pocket watching people and understand that you're going to raise yours different from the next person. We have to let our kids ride or die. That's where you see as a parent if you've passed or failed your children. Take accountability of that, because no matter how long you got them on that leash, it's not going to change the results of how you raised your child. You got to see if your job or your efforts work for your child. And if they didn't, you have to be okay with that and understand that you may still be able to tweak some things and educate them, but they now have to go out in the world and, God forbid if it was good or bad, put your teachings out in this world to their own kids or to others if they decide to get into that field or try to educate others. And then when it comes down to this, and this is my word, my opinion on this, and I'm going to leave it at that. For this unvaccinated, vaccinated situation, if you choose to get it and be done with it. If you choose not to get it, don't get it and be done with it. Stop doing this and trying to tell people they're the reasons why we're still in this situation, because you don't even know why we're still in this situation. Nobody knows why we're still in this situation. Everybody has their opinion, but don't fix your mouth to say the ones that are unvaccinated are the reason why we're still in this pandemic situation. When we was just talking about freedom of speech and my body, my choice not too long ago. But now that the shoe's on the other foot, now you got something to say? Let people do what they gonna do. Because like I said before, vaccinated or not, you still catching it, you still spreading it, you still dying from it. So who are you to say? At the end of the day, you do what you do, you live how you want to live, be safe, and understand that God has given you everything that you need to stay protected. I see a lot of faith in mankind over your creator. I see a lot more faith in your oppressor than your creator. And I get it. For you to live a comfortable life, they have control over a lot of things. But understand, in this generation, some of us don't have anything to do with that, but we continue it. But we chose to be a part of this BS. And now they control it. All I can say is, be careful what you give away. Because the fact that they can threaten your job now, when we've seen for 2 years you can work from the house in some jobs, but now they still want to go back to an office. Going so heavy as in to give stuff away just for you to get it. I've never seen anybody push as hard to give you free gym memberships for you to work out, or give you free vouchers to go to Sprouts or Publix or whatever to get healthier food, or giving you free classes on how to properly garden yourself, or, lower the prices on some of this goddamn water they releasing out here. Think about that for a minute. People, really think about that. If they really gave a damn about your health, don't you think they'd do a little bit better than what they're doing right now with a vaccination? With everything else? I ain't never got no free donut behind going to Publix and choosing healthier foods. But I can for a shot. That they've already said whether you got it or not, 2 or 3 of them, even if you double masked up, you can still catch it, spread it, and also die from it. Come on, y'all. Come on. But that's the end of today's episode, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope I can get some type of feedback. If not, then I hope this is some great information for you to digest while you're just kind of sitting around doing whatever, or if you're in your car pushing whatever. But I thank you all. And honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I pray that you find your path and you find what works for you and your family. None of us deserve what it is that's happening right now, except for those that I feel have kind of pissed off God in a way. But like I said, that's my thoughts. But I hope everybody's safe. I hope everybody's good. Hope everybody's prayed up. Hope everybody's protected and healthy. That's about the best I can give you. Thanks once again for Thanks again for tuning in to the Insightfully Ignorant podcast. I'm your host, Action Jack. Peace.